Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to Black Knight Gaming. We're here today with a couple missions playing for the Pirates faction, starting off with the battle here in the jungle, and we have our new addition. So during the last episode we were able to get a Cyclops-10Z, and we've moved most of our goodies from our old Zeus onto this mech, so it doesn't have the most carrying capacity because of that battle computer. But we have some good stuff on here, and hopefully this will let us go a little bit faster. As you can see, we have 2 and 3 for our initiative, ratings. Assault mechs moving where heavies should by default, and the heavy moving where mediums should by default. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. So we've dropped in now, here in the pouring down rain, and our job is simple. We will be, the next mission, I think we're going to choose an escort mission, which is a bit of a new one for our current playthrough, but as it stands right now, we just have a simple battle, and by the look of it, the enemy units should be, well, quite far away. So what I hope to do, just as we take a cursory glance here at our surroundings, is to make good use of this hill as a vantage point. If we have the ability to fire down from a height, we will get far better accuracy than if we were firing level, or if they had a commanding position. And I think we have a wonderful drop in terms of making fullest use of the natural geography. So we have a bit of a choice to make. This is an 80-tonner, or we could go in at this 25-tonner here, and I think we'll go in for that 80-tonner. We do have enough for one precision strike right off the bat, and that is an awesome. So a twin large laser, twin LRM-15, and a small, quite a heavy armament, well, outside of the SLDF and Lost Tech goodies that we have going on, and we don't quite land that, enough of a head hit to take that mech out in one go. It looks like the Gauss rifle impacted on that mech's right shoulder, not shoulder, but torso, I guess. And that was a PPC coming in, so eyes on hostile reinforcements, and unlike the last time where we had reinforcements come in that four-skull mission, it looks like we're going to have to deal with 2 lances at once. So despite being a nominally lower toughness rating, or skull rating, this could be potentially a more challenging mission than we had when we had the fortunate Cyclops scavenge here. So moving the Highlander up, we could get into cover and make good use of those twin Gauss rifles. If we move here, yeah, we're still out of range, and let's take a look at where Archangel can go. Can he even get a good shot? So he can. He actually has a great shot on that awesome. So let's see if the Cyclops could potentially, I don't know. So the Cyclops could not get a shot on that 25-tonner, even if he tried. Let's go ahead and move up to the forest. No? Alright. So enough lollygagging. Let's just go ahead and move up with the Highlander, take those twin Gauss rifle shots here at the awesome. Maybe if we get lucky we'll pound into the head, and we don't. It looks like both of those did go into that CT, and we need to get something up farther up so that the Marauder is not taking all of that LRM focus fire from what looks like a 65-tonner, a 50-tonner, and there's something heavy over here as well. So this is probably the first lance, and the second lance is probably coming in from this left-hand side. So we have quite a bit to deal with, and we'll move up the Annihilator, and let's take a look. Is this awesome? Yeah, the CT is pretty worn down, but we can just open fire with absolutely everything here, and hopefully this mech, if it doesn't go down, should be significantly damaged, and it does actually survive. I'm quite surprised. And okay, that's a lot of fire. Was that red? I could not tell. It shouldn't be. This is a little early. So there's a Thunderbolt coming in with more LRM rounds, and I'm getting a little bit worried about our Marauder here, although all of that damage is scattered pretty well. But, the more damage we take, even if it is scattered, it gets harder for us to, well, feel confident about surviving a big hit. So I think we will take the Cyclops and go ahead and sprint the Cyclops up in front of the Marauder, hoping to draw a little bit of fire, as well as get some good damage reduction from the forest and evasion from that sprint. So the awesome moving back a little bit, and that looked like an AC-20 shell, but I don't remember if I saw that on that 50-tonner or not. So the Commando moving down here, just being an absolute pest. I think we will try to take him out this turn. We can easily move the Annihilator over, well, if it has enough movement range, and take that mech out. It might also be a good idea to retreat the Marauder a little bit, Well, it's a horrible shot. Even with our accuracy bonus from the height, that is just an awful shot. So if we instead look here at the awesome, that thing is very worse for wear. I wonder if it might be a better idea to move right, to take a called shot on that Thunderbolt, aiming for the head, potentially taking out this mech entirely, get lucky, and that pilot does in fact take lethal damage right to the dome piece. And the reason I went there instead of going back over to that awesome is that the awesome already has quite a bit of damage to its CT. That's already been done, and going in for another aim shot to the head would basically be a waste if we don't need that sort of damage to chew through that mech. And while it would be nice to have an awesome, we really don't have a place for it on the Lance right now. I'm not going to replace, I'm not going to replace the Annihilator, I'm not going to replace the SLDF Highlander with the standard awesome. It doesn't really have a home. So let's go ahead and move up the Highlander here. We might end up leaving that Commando for last, or at least until it decides to go in, take a shot, and have a little bit less evasion. But for right now, let's just peg into that awesome. Twin Gauss rifles landing, and we still don't manage to rip anything off of that mech, which is just absolutely incredible. I'm really surprised. Looks like we're scattering damage all over the place, and I would still be astounded if anything, especially on that right side, has much structure left. So only 22 remaining on that right torso, 89 remaining on the CT, and 3 remaining on the head. So if that had any less damage reduction than it did, that mech would be dead by now, no question.
What can I do for you?
So we could do one of two things. Let's see where we have a good shot with the Annihilator, and it looks like it is slightly better on the awesome, but I'm not sure I want to use all of that firepower. So let's go ahead and move up the Cyclops. Hopefully with that fresh armor it can take a couple rounds from the enemy and pile into this awesome here. It doesn't hit quite as hard as our Annihilator, but I'm kind of hopeful. And we do take that side torso off, and this awesome now I'm not really too worried about. So it is, well, it still has a large laser, an LRM-15, and a small laser that it won't be within range to use, but you know, it's still there, right? So the question is, do we pile in at this awesome, try to kill it, or do we fire into that Centurion? And I think for right now the answer is take the mech off the board if you have that opportunity. So let's go ahead and shoot in here at this awesome. I think this will be enough to kill it. It doesn't really have much left in that CT, and we do core that mech out. So it's unfortunate. I would have liked the salvage, but it survived altogether too many shots from our mechs to be left alone. So some light fire coming in from the Centurion, and now half of that starting lance is gone. Commando coming in, taking a shot, which is actually what I wanted. Now it should have less evasion, and we can answer back with far better accuracy. Yep, only 2 pips there, and the Marauder does not have a shot on it. So let's move him up into these trees, and that is a Black Knight, ladies and gentlemen. I feel almost obliged to field this mech if we can capture it and get enough pieces. So let's go ahead and come in with an attempted headshot here. We don't get it, and it looks like we open up that left torso or left arm, maybe. Not too much armor on Black Knights by default, and that looks like a quick draw, but we'll have to confirm. Yep, quick draw coming in, so 2 heavies, probably a 3rd heavy, maybe an assault, and they're still plinking away at our Marauder, and I'm very less than happy with that. The nice thing is, this Marauder has enough long-range weaponry that we can start to push down this hill and leave the Marauder behind as they start hopefully shooting at our other nice and juicy targets. And just to take a mech off the board, this will be a little bit overkill, but just to take this mech off the board in its entirety, we will fire in just overwhelming force at this Commando, more than enough to core it out and just eviscerate that mech in its entirety. So I guess that's a good turn of events. Now it's 4 against 5, us against them, and even more LRMs, this time piling into the Cyclops. So he did manage to do what I was hoping for and distract a little bit from this increasingly damaged Marauder, down to only around half armor now on both of those arms. So let's go ahead and move up the Highlander. We could go for cover in the trees. I'm not really sure it matters. Let's see what kind of shots we have, and I think we will go, is that 85 versus 95? It's hard to tell. No? Okay. So we will go into the trees here for the damage reduction and fire in at the Centurion. Pretty short range for the Gauss rifles, but let's see what we can do. And just absolutely ripping that mech apart in one go. Now that is how you kill a medium mech. You know, if we have the funds for it, and we spent a little bit between episodes, so we don't currently, but if we have the funds for it, I would like to put maybe a third Gauss rifle. Well, we could build the Gauss Zilla on our Annihilator if we're so inclined, but that's always seemed a little bit greedy for me. I don't really think we would benefit too much from that snub PPC shot on the quick draw. I think it might be a better decision to go ahead and sprint down, make sure that we can get within weapons range with more of our weapons next turn, and present a better, more evasive front line. So that PPC from the Black Knight does miss, and we still are trying to salvage this mech if at all possible. So if we take a look, that left arm is badly damaged and the CT is damaged. I might go in to try to leg this mech instead of headshot. Might be a better idea. So, well, I don't really see a point in moving the Marauder at the moment. Let's see if they can fire in some other things first. And indeed, that Cyclops does draw more fire, which is, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. And those two mechs are in a spore cloud. It's going to make them a bit harder to hit. And there's that mysterious fourth mech moving up. So hopefully we can get him in visual range next turn with our Annihilator, maybe? Yeah, it looks like that is possible. Just a 50-tonner, nothing too scary. It is a trebuchet, which is why it's had such devastating LRM fire coming in. And we will just, I want this mech gone right now. So let's see if we can get a hilarious headshot here. And we do. So we do destroy that mech, and the reason that I don't go headhunting with the Annihilator more often was demonstrated right there. So we got the head hit, but it was after we dealt enough damage to completely rip off an arm, which does reduce, I believe, the amount of salvage that we would get from that mech. We'll actually be able to take a look at that at the mission reward screen. But for right now, let's move up the Marauder, and because we do still want that Black Knight, let's go ahead and take a look at what would happen here. So 83% chance to hit either of those legs, but the damage would travel up whichever side we choose. So I think let's just go for the 35% chance, and if we don't get it, we don't get it. And in fact, we didn't. You know, even if we get only one piece from this Black Knight, we will slowly start to build up one of those mechs for our Lance, just because it is iconic, the same name as the channel. And with how much of a beating that Black Knight took, I think now we should just focus fire, see if we can take that mech off the field. Left arm destroyed, that CT can't be holding on by all that much, and the mech is actually almost knocked over. So 63 remaining on that CT, and let's see if we can change that. So the only reason I hesitate here is because we do have our Marauder moving at initiative 3 before this Black Knight would have a chance to go, and those Gauss rifles would take quite a hit out of this Archer. So I think we will actually fire in at that Archer, and structure exposed, sensors impaired. That is just excellent firepower coming in there, and showcases really why I prefer autocannons and ballistics to things like missiles, because we've dealt less damage, I think, to this Archer than has been dealt to our Marauder, but our Marauder is still relatively well armored everywhere, and if we look at this Archer, yeah, that leg is really struggling. So now this is part of why I really do enjoy ballistics in this game, although there are some energy weapons as well that have similar characteristics, things like large lasers and PPCs, and just to try to be fancy one last time, we do finally get that head hit. I wouldn't be surprised if we only get 2 pieces of salvage, if that, from that mech, despite taking it out with a headshot. But who knows, maybe we'll get lucky, maybe we'll get 3, and we'll be able to build ourselves a new mech at the end of this episode, which would be quite nice. And the Marauder's still taking an absolute pounding, but once again showing why missiles are not the best, especially in the later game when things have more armor. And for now, I think we will move up the Cyclops, and this side is largely undamaged, so I think it would be a better choice to fire in at the quick draw, let our Annihilator pummel into that damaged side of the Archer, and see if we can have the Highlander follow up on the quick draw. I'm really hoping the Annihilator has enough firepower to finish this mech off once and for all, and we will go in, well, we could go for the leg, but we have a high enough hit chance on that CT. This should absolutely destroy the mech really quickly, and it does. So that mech is down, and now we just have the quick draw left, and hey, we get to use our ace pilot ability for once, which is quite nice. So Decker coming in with the Highlander, and I guess no sense not doing this, slowing it down to initiative 2 for next round, and we will go for the leg, see if we can knock this mech over, which we do, and we have more than enough damage to travel up to that CT, and that's the mission. So we'll be right back with a convoy escort, so stick around.
Mission successful.
Before we get to the convoy escort, though, we have a decent payout. Only, well, not so great here. Almost 400,000 C-bills, but no significant damage. Lots of good experience and lots of good salvage. So we do actually salvage 3 Black Knight pieces, and I will be building this mech probably between episodes. I'm not sure what I want to replace quite yet, because to be honest, this Black Knight is not really as good for platform as some of the assault mechs that we have, and it doesn't have the specialty pieces of the Marauder, but we'll see what we can do here. So now we'll be right back with with that convoy escort mission.
Commander.
Alright, so we've dropped in to a desert biome here on our convoy escort mission, and we have 2 tasks. One, to destroy the enemy blocking force, and second, to secure this capture point. I am expecting potentially 1 or 2 enemy reinforcing lances at different times, so it's quite popular for the enemy to drop down once after you secure the rally point, and once more after you begin exfiltrating all of those convoy vehicles. So it's quite possible we'll see 2, it's quite possible we'll only see 1, it's also possible we'll see 4. I mean, I have been ambushed sometimes on these missions before getting to the rally point. I think at least I've been ambushed at some point in these convoy escort missions, and it's part of why we didn't really take them earlier on in the game, because the damage, well, not the damage, but the difficulty variability is quite high. So that's an 85 tonner that we have only on sensors, unfortunately. And because of that, well, let's go ahead and see. So we can see him if we move up the Marauder, but not that far. So let's get a spot where we have line of sight, figure out what that is, and that's a Battlemaster 1G, which is the energy variant, apparently. So lots of medium lasers, a PPC, an SRM, and there's a 20 ton, so there's a light mech supporting. This could be the entirety of the initial lance if they're deciding to go a little easy on us here. If we got, well, I guess lucky, but you know, I kind of want to see how many mechs we can take out in one go, so also kind of unlucky on our initial deployment here. So that is a Locust, great evasion, and the Battlemaster will be moving, let's see, it looks like initiative 2, and I want him to have less damage reduction, so we will reserve, we'll let that Battlemaster go, and it doesn't, because there's a catapult. So there's a catapult, there's a Battlemaster. This looks like it might actually be a full lance that we have to destroy before getting to that rally point. It looks like the Phoenix Hawk jumping in from who knows where, and now we have a choice to make. The last thing we want to do is drive right up the middle here and get pincered by all of these mechs. We kind of have to pick a side, right? And we have enough firepower that we won't have to pick that side for very long, but we still do have to make that choice right off the bat. So I'm almost tempted to say, since I want better accuracy, let's skip the precision strike for turn 1 right now at least, and let's come over here with the Cyclops. Not our heaviest armament, but what I'm trying to do is, if we have, yeah, we don't have great accuracy here, but let's see if we can strip some evasion from this catapult. It only has 1 pip, we have pretty good accuracy. The SRM is at long range, which is why it's a bit of a difficult shot. But let's come in here, focus fire on that catapult. I want to see if I can take those missiles off the board while we're still, hopefully, largely outside the effective range of those medium lasers from the Battlemaster. So the Cyclops, in all of its, well, very, very heavy assault mech glory, dodging that PPC like an absolute champ. And now we can move the Annihilator over. There is some damage reduction, but there's no evasion on this mech. And let's go ahead and see what we can do with this poor mech over here. So we rip off one of the ears. We have structure opened all along this mech. And yeah, the CT down to 56 structure, the left torso hanging on at 47. We might be able to take this mech out in one turn. So the twin Gauss rifles, I think we'd only need 1 to land on the CT. Yeah, that should be more than enough. And even if we land on the left torso, some of that damage should travel in. So if we're lucky, this should take that mech out, and it does. So right off the bat, we take this 4 mech opposing lance down to 3, and we also peel off a decent amount of pressure coming in from this one side, which makes me more comfortable about not getting pincered by these mechs. is, the AI pulls off good hits and lucky hits when you least expect it, right? So it's not like we can take these things entirely unseriously. So let's come in now, and since this is the last mech shooting this round, we have decent resolve. If we get rid of this mech, we'll pop back up really quickly. Let's come in trying for a headshot here. Nothing really lost by that effort, and we don't get it, but we do get a head hit. So lots of things surviving, it looks like, just a little bit on that head, which, you know, it could be worse, right? Because if we take that head down to 3 or 4 structure remaining, then even a missile hit will be able to take it out, and those things do scatter a bit more. So oh, that's just teasing me. one structure remaining on that Battlemaster's cockpit. There must be just a pilot hanging in there by the seat of his pants, just dangling half out of a mostly destroyed cockpit at this point. And man, it is really tempting to go in and try to take that shot again, even though the odds are the same, I guess, of landing it this time as they were last. I think we might want to do that with the Cyclops instead, something that has well, more weapon rate. Let's see. So the Cyclops would have a snub PPC. Yeah, that's the plan. So we'll shoot in right now on that Phoenix Hawk rather. Not the best accuracy, but we do get lucky. We managed to land all 3 of those shots. And the Phoenix Hawk now will probably jump. Oh no, staying still, which is writing itself basically a death sentence. Oh, ace pilot. Never mind. So 4 evasion on that Phoenix Hawk. Just really showing off how agile those mechs can be. And now we can come in with the Cyclops, that snub PPC, hopefully enough to get another head hit, even a partial one, from one of those PPC shotgun pellets, energy shotgun pellets, or whatever they are, on that Battlemaster. We only need 1 piece of damage coming in, and we do get it. So that Battlemaster is down for the count, leaving just the Phoenix Hawk and that very, very light Locust. So let's come around here, and not great accuracy either location. So, well, that's fine. We'll take a precision strike in at the Phoenix Hawk. Great accuracy on these Gauss rifles, and if we pound 1 or both into that CT, it looks like we do miss with the second, but we still have enough damage coming in from those snubs to take that mech out of the fight. So Archangel now following up in the Annihilator, and well, let's see what we can do. Not the best accuracy. I'm tempted to turn off one of the AC-10s. We don't really need that much firepower, and the accuracy truly is awful. If we're fighting 2 more Lances, potentially, I do want to save some of that mech's ammunition, and this is enough to tear off 1 leg and take out all that evasion. It may not matter. I think he might still get the first move if he's moving on initiative 3. And he does. That mech does pop right back up, and we'll probably get some evasion back this turn. Let's see how much. So he's moving. He's taking a long time to move, and, well, getting some decent damage for a light mech, anyway, and on our Highlander. So, let's see. Yeah, we ripped 1/2 of that mech clean off, and still had some damage travel into the CT, so I'm not really concerned with that mech anymore. Let's go ahead and sprint up closer to the objective with a Marauder, and, well, I don't really want to use the Gauss rifle shots if I don't have to. So let's come over here with the Cyclops and just load in a nice side shot on this Locust. We will need to sink some heat on this mech before we get into another prolonged engagement. Cyclops is running a bit hot, despite excellent pilot abilities for reducing heat buildup and the like. So let's bring the Annihilator over. I'm not really sure which direction they'll be wanting to go out of this junction. So let's go ahead and have the Annihilator here, and if they come out this side, which they shouldn't, but they might, we'll have the Marauder at least somewhere nearby. So let's go ahead and dump the Cyclops into the water, try and cool him down some before we start up our next combat, and it does look like they are going to the right here. So the convoy drops in. I would expect to see at least 1 reinforcement lance coming in as well between us and the escort zone. Quite unusual if that doesn't happen, at least in my somewhat limited experience playing this game. So let's go ahead and see. The Annihilator can actually sprint up almost through, but not entirely through that deployment. I don't want to block anything is the issue, and we'll see if we can move the Marauder up. Well, okay, so the Marauder will come in behind those vehicles, and the Cyclops... Okay, the Cyclops can go up to a slightly flanking position, with the Highlander kind of trundling along behind. We've seen before he's not the most agile of all of our mechs, and it looks like we don't actually have any opposition here at the moment, which, especially for the skull rating here, is a bit unusual. but I mean, I guess I won't object too much quite yet. So let's sprint the Annihilator up. We have to keep something near these vehicles for them to move, which is a little bit annoying from time to time, but, well, I think this should be close enough for the Cyclops to let him move up and back down this way on this next turn. So the other thing we want to make sure is that we have something over here when they get into the escort zone, because I've had something happen before a couple times where it looks like I'm well situated to defend on this side, but they drop in 4 mechs right here that all move faster than me, and the next thing you know, you lose your bonus paycheck because 2 mediums and a heavy moved before your assault lance, so your Steiner scout squad here, and you don't quite have enough distraction to keep that going. So unfortunately, this mech may not have moved. That is a glitch that happens way too often in this game. Now, last time that happened, I was lucky enough where it didn't require me to go back and surround it, and somehow that tells it to keep moving again or something like that. Who's to say, really? And it does look like it's slowly maybe getting kind of back on the beaten path. So for right now, let's move the Annihilator up and the Marauder as well, just to try to prevent any ambushes from this right-hand side with an unexpected drop. And for right now, the Highlander can stay moving with these 2 vehicles, because if you're not close enough, they will complain and you have to waste a turn, and nobody wants that. So let's see, enemy contact. Okay, so we have gotten one vehicle in this zone, and yeah, well, not quite up here like I had feared, but they are relatively close to these vehicles, and that Swift Wind is not very well armored at all. So the Annihilator and the Marauder will be taking pot shots into that lance as quickly as they possibly can, which is absolutely required because they will at least have 1 full turn before we have the chance to answer. All of those mechs moving faster than us. At least, well, the last one is tied with our Marauder. We might have, I guess, the... Oh, wait, am I missing something here? Never mind. So I completely forgot we have the Cyclops now, and everything moves faster than it should. So the Cicada moving up, and now we have to pick what we want to shoot at. So that's another Black Knight. We could field... Oh man, that would be wonderful. We could field a lance of Black Knights, maybe eventually if we get lucky here, and well, I'm not sure how effective that would be, but I would deeply enjoy that, at least for a little while. So let's go ahead and see if we can get a nice headshot here at the Black Knight. It does have the heaviest armament of anything we're facing, and that Black Knight goes down to an aimed shot from the Marauder, which really kind of goes to show how much more effective a 4 Marauder lance would be than a 4 Black Knight lance. But those are little details, guys, and we don't play this game for the little details unless you definitely do, in which case you're just laughing at my horrible lance plans right now. So our other APCs moving up now to that deployment zone. These things move so slowly sometimes, it just kind of kills me a little bit, but we can move up with the Highlander, and we should have a decent shot. Well, it looks like only on the Centurion, so Vulcans are actually quite surprising for their evasiveness. They also have specialized equipment that makes them more evasive in melee combat, and that can be an absolute pain. So firing in just with the twin Gauss rifles for right now at the Centurion, see how much damage we can do. And those orange notices are kind of deceptive, again, because the Gauss rifle does guaranteed damage to the internals every hit. But still, both of those hammer right to the CT of that mech. It's quite fortunate for us, and I do want to see if we can take out this Cicada, because it is the closest, and this Swift Wind, 90 armor total. So even this Cicada's relatively small armament, if it clusters all on one side, could take that vehicle completely out of commission in one go. So I don't think we need both AC-10s. I might pay for this, but I think we should have enough firepower to get through, although it did look like one shot missed, which, tisk tisk, Archangel. But that Cicada does go down, and the APCs are moving up into that escort zone quite well. So let's see. We are making enemies, by the way, with the Magistracy of Canopus. We've taken a couple of missions now against them, one for pirates, one for the Arano Restoration, and they're very not happy with us, so we might have to mend some bridges if we care, although, quite frankly, I've never really cared what the Magistracy of Canopus thinks of me. I guess they're kind of a major faction, but, they're not Davion, they're not Karita, they're not the... Even the Capellans, as much as I dislike them, I can recognize their functional great house, kind of. I mean, they get wrecked in many of the succession wars, from what I understand. But at least they are notorious. The magistracy of Canopus is not even that notorious, which they're not real. They're kind of like the Free Worlds League and House Merrick and that stuff. I don't know. That's just me. I mean, there are clanners out there too, so everyone has their opinion, right or wrong. And it looks like we are just not able to take out that Centurion, although it does become unsteady. And I mean, these are the slowest moving convoy vehicles I've ever seen. So we had this Swiftwind get here, living up to its name really well, and everything else is just taking absolutely forever. So the Cyclops maybe... Oh, okay. We should be able to kill the Centurion. If we don't, we should certainly be able to knock it over. Ammo explosion, knockdown. That's infuriating. There's only 2 structure remaining on that torso, and that mech is still, still kicking. So now let's just go ahead and, well, do we even have to move yet? No, we don't. So let's just unleash on this Vulcan, which should be one of the last mechs. I'm not anticipating any more reinforcements at this point. The deployment is basically over, and that Vulcan does go down. So now we can move. Yeah, see, look, we're using Ace Pilot on an Annihilator Pilot for all of the benefits that definitely does not provide. It looks like maybe 1 or 2 more slow turns for these APCs to get up there, and fortunately, this Centurion just doesn't stand a chance. I almost wonder if we could keep it alive shooting at this left leg. No, so we have enough damage to travel up, take out that CT, and well, that pilot's out. So the area's been cleared, and that'll be the mission. We'll be right back with the mission reward screen. Okay, so here we are, 775,000 C-bills, and some good salvage too, hopefully. So I was kind of joking about taking that second Black Knight. It might actually be a better idea to take the Battlemaster. And as much as this does come with a default energy weapon loadout, it does have 2 ballistic slots, and that makes it somewhat valuable to me. But I think, oh man, it's hard to say no to this Black Knight. I have a problem. But no, that's why the channel's named how it is. So we will take the Black Knight pieces here, 2 for 2 with deployments this time, scavenging entire complete Black Knights. Let's see if we can get a third. What do you say? So here we are, back again with the third mission for this episode, and I've had some trouble before on urban biomes, so if this is a little bit stuttery, just, well, bear with me. But the reason I'm taking this is we actually have, well, for one, we're fighting the Magistracy of Canopus again, and both of our last deployments against them we've seen Black Knights. And for 2, this mission offered 7 pieces of priority salvage, which is just insane value. I mean, that's more than we could get even if we maxed out the cash reward and bonus objectives on something, well, like Assassination has decent bonus objectives for extra cash, but 7 pieces of priority salvage, so it is only difficulty 3. We may not see any assault mechs at all, but hopefully we'll see enough heavies that maybe we'll get a third Black Knight to show its face. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. Alright, so here we are dropping down onto our first urban biome mission for the channel, and now I'm beginning to see why it offered such great salvage opportunities. We have 2 enemy lances already on the battlefield, and potentially could see a third. We're aware of some ambushers over on this far left-hand side here, as well as some supporting enemy forces, and all of these lances are incredibly spread out, so I'm almost tempted to turn our lance around a little bit, drive down this way, and just slam into this lance of ambushing mechs before they have a chance to all kind of link up. And, well, the other thing we could do is we could alternatively leave them for last. We are a bit closer to the supporting lance first, and if we drive up this way, come around, collapse on that objective, the Canopian Terrorist, I guess, as he's called, then we can deal with the ambushers last. The reason why I was leaning toward first was because somewhere in my gut is the feeling that they are the heavier lance that we'd have to deal with. I don't really know why. I have nothing, obviously, to support that or not, but I don't know. I get the feeling that they're going to be the heavier lance. And this is a 65-tonner, probably a Thunderbolt, if past experience has been telling. And let's go ahead and see. He should move into range once combat starts. And I guess moving up this way, starting combat relatively early is pretty nice. So he's telling us it's a great place for an ambush. I'm not sure if we're going to get double ambushed here, but I guess we'll see what comes. And this lance is very light. So there's a 65, there's a 20, there's a 30. Some might call that balanced. I call that incredibly, incredibly light. And let's go ahead and see if... Okay, so there's at least one more heavy, it looks like, because that mech did not move when given the opportunity, although he could be other places on the battlefield. And that does look like it is a Thunderbolt. Although, to be honest, the way that head missile piece is mounted, that looks like... well, if you kind of squint at it, not that hard, it looks kind of like Timberwolf. Or, sorry, not a Timberwolf. A Loki, I guess, summoner, if you want to use the clan name for it. But well, let's see what we can do. Not great accuracy here. Let's save the Gauss rifle shot. Come in with the PPC and the large laser. Missing with the PPC, that's why I saved the Gauss rifle shot. And we do peg the large laser in on that Thunderbolt left torso. So this thing has 3 medium lasers crammed into that left torso. That's actually a pretty decent armament. And better than we managed when we had, well, no, we managed that when we had a Thunderbolt as well, I think, if memory serves. So let's go ahead and light this mech up. Medium pulse, a snub PPC, all of that nice fire coming in on this mech, and nothing opened up still, so let's see if we can change that. Well, so the question ahead of us now is, do we move up the Highlander first and open fire with those Gauss rifles, and then follow up with the Annihilator? And, well, as I say, the question before us, that is the plan that sounds best to me. So now we have structure exposed, we have those side torsos opened up, we have the leg opened up, and our Annihilator should be able to come in. And I will say, this Thunderbolt, he held up admirably, but against the sheer amount of firepower that we can drop at any one point in time, this is how that's going to go if you decide to go 4v1. So we do drop a mech, and we're only seeing 2 lights at the moment for this side of the battlefield, and they're kind of deciding not to engage, which is pretty smart. We could, yeah, so I think we'll sprint the Marauder around.
No shooting, just running. Got it.
We're going to bring the whole lance this way, I think. Oh, that Shadowhawk. So this is the thing. As cool as the urban biome is and having all of these line of sight breakers is, jumping up on these buildings always seems like a bad idea to me because they're so easy to hit. They have small enough structure, even on the larger buildings, that they're really easy to bring down. So I can just, I can take the Cyclops, come up here. Ooh, we actually have a good shot with him, so maybe not. What else can reach there? Well, yeah, okay, so we'll bring up the Annihilator and I'll prove my point with him. So if we take a look at this building, each one of my ultra autocannons does 54 damage. So we're just going to fire 1 at that building. They both land, that building is down, and that Shadowhawk will take falling damage, actually exceeding the amount of fire I had to do to drop that entire building, and directly on both legs, which makes this mech really easy to leg. It makes them so vulnerable. I've never found it to be really worth it. So this is a coolant exchanger, I'm not too worried about that. And we have a choice. We can fire in at the Shadowhawk, or we can fire in at this Javelin, and we have good enough accuracy on the Javelin. I think I will use a precision strike, try to take out, well, it's a fire Javelin, my favorite by the way. We'll go right for that CT. Should be able to take this mech out of commission, and not able to do it. So I guess our Cyclops doesn't have our heaviest armament here. Okay, so I guess our only option here is use those twin Gausses on the Shadowhawk. We don't really have any other shot. Luckily they don't hit that building, well, not the building, but the coolant on the way. Structure exposed, which means we hit something, well, we might have hit the leg with that, it's hard to tell. And the Locust now moving up, firing in at the Marauder.
Light damage, Commander.
Okay, so Javelin's going to move next. Even with quad medium laser, well, the Shadowhawk could also move. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the Marauder, we're going to move him up and around this way, get 2 evasion pips, and fire in, opening up with the Gauss rifle as well. Try to take this Shadowhawk at least down, if not entirely out of the fight. And it does look like we destroy that right leg. Yeah, so that's a knock. That Shadowhawk will be moving much slower. from here on. Well, not from here on out, but for the next round, dropping down so that we have another chance to shoot with one of our assaults. So the goal for this round is to take him out at a minimum and potentially take out one of these two lighter mechs. But the Shadowhawk has much more damage capacity. That AC-5 is not the heaviest gun ever, but it's not bad. So we'll move up with the Cyclops, I think, and go ahead and shoot at that damaged left leg. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier with the sheer amount of damage, 70 per leg, we were able to do by dropping that building. Guaranteed leg damage is just so powerful. It should not be underestimated by any stretch. So we'll come in with the Annihilator, and I think we'll have a good shot on either with this Highlander. So let's just see. The Locust, alright, which has more armor left? So the Javelin has almost as much left as the Locust starts with. But let's go ahead and fire at this Locust. I don't want to leave it alive, so we'll fire in with everything but one of the AC-10s. Save a little bit of ammunition just in case we do see a fourth lance drop. And now we can follow up with the Highlander. Not seeing a Black Knight yet is making me kind of sad, but I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. We only have, well, 10 more rounds of shooting. Okay, yeah, that's not bad. So let's go ahead and light up this Javelin here, and that's more than enough to take it out. So we may even fall back out of combat now. I don't think we have anything on sensors, and we do in fact fall out of combat. So it's our turn, and let's see, where are these objectives? So the Canopian terrorists should be over here somewhere, and the ambushers, it looks like they are moving up slowly toward us. So we could get trapped between a rock and a hard place. What's tempting to do is we can move the Highlander and the Annihilator. Yeah, so we're going to move these two mechs over this way. We do pick up, it looks like a scout from that ambushing lance, and let's move the Marauder up toward, well, hopefully, yep, that's the terrorist there in the 80-tonner. 50, 20, yeah, 80. And we'll move the Cyclops to support. It's not our heaviest mech, it's not the most firepower, but the Marauder, I would like him to have at least someone else to take some of those shots, if he does get a little bit more worn down. And as we re-enter combat here and these lights get to move again, I'm just more grateful than ever for having that Cyclops inclusion, although, well, so that's a 50, and then we have the 80. This might not be a full lance. This is only a 3-skull mission, not 4, and things do escalate rather quickly. Yeah, I guess the game designers kind of anticipate that as you go and as you crest that ridge of getting your first assault mechs and some specialty equipment, things like that, your firepower increases very non-linearly. So because they can't see us yet, we will reserve one more time. Just let them move and not take a shot. Or do take a shot, so that's a victor. That's quite nice. And we might end up shooting the building out from under him too, because that would do, I believe, 80 damage, if not more, to each leg. I'm not sure if it's standard or if it's all kind of mixed up there, but let's go ahead and move the Highlander up this way, and yeah, I think what we will do is we will shoot at this building. So it only has 80 structure. I don't really want to waste the Gauss rifle shots, so we will fire into those snubs. Should be more than enough to sink those buildings, and yeah, even one might have done it. 100 damage to each leg is just insane. The Victor actually structure exposed on both legs, although barely, and now we don't even really have to try to headshot it. I mean, we still might, because, you know, we like being fancy over here. But we do have probably much better odds of shooting one of those legs out from under it. So 83, 35, yeah, let's just go ahead and open fire on one of the legs, and if we drop this leg, that mech will fall, and we can follow up with an easy shot to the other leg as well. So that mech does fall on its back, and this should be a relatively easy kill. I mean, for those of you who remember our first assassination mission on the channel not that long ago, we almost weren't able to track down that crab. It almost got away from us a couple of times, and now that Victor somehow surviving. Yeah, 25 structure left. Fair enough, although it won't survive next round. And let's see, so we should probably just sprint the Annihilator up, not able to take a shot on anything. this turn, unfortunately. And we've been notified the victor is trying to leave, although it won't get nearly far enough. So there's a trebuchet, there's looks like a locust or a flea. Same here. Actually, that might be. So I want to say that's a locust. That might be. Okay, so it's also a locust. Just locusts everywhere, coming to take all our grain apparently. But biblical reference aside, this should not be all that hard to chew through. So we can, well, let's leave the Marauder almost where he is. Well, there's no sense exposing him to fire from that 65-tonner, although I'm not really worried even if we did. And we can just go ahead and shoot in at this victor, just chew that leg off and take this mech out. So our main target is destroyed. We have 4 mechs left, 2 lights, 1 medium and 1 heavy remaining. And that trebuchet opening up fire on the Cyclops, but also pegging the Marauder with 1 medium laser. Not really worried here for our Lance's integrity, which I guess I've said a couple times now, but let's see what we can kill. So not great accuracy on the 1 locust, but on the other, that's pretty terrific. So because the trebuchet is more armored and we do hit quite a bit harder with the Annihilator, I think we'll go in for a CT kill here. And that mech, I do really regret not getting multi-target on Archangel sometimes because, oh, is that a weapon or a leader? Interesting. Lots of damage coming in on our Cyclops. We might actually have to rotate him out. Yeah, well, no, he could still take another round of that, but I'd rather not if we have the choice. So let's open up, I guess, on this other locust. Twin Gauss rifles should be more than enough to take this mech out, and we may as well use a precision strike. We have the resolve. We'll get more when we kill this locust. And yeah, that mech is just not happy with us at all. So down to 2. The Jaeger mech was a surprise. We'll have to see what we can do about that. So I almost think we should rush him. Yeah, let's rush. Let's go in for 1 more precision strike, dropping beneath 50, but we should bounce back up above that next turn as the turn rolls around. And let's just go for the CT. I don't really think we do get 7 salvage out of this. I suppose we should have gone for that sweet headshot there. Although the victor we should be able to scavenge as well. We legged that mech, which should give us 3 pieces of salvage, unless they've changed how that works in the 1.9 update. I don't think they have, but I've been wrong before, so let's see. And the Marauder, well, if we miss the head, it usually does go in for the CT, so let's just shoot at the head. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, and we might actually walk away from this deployment with a victor and a Jaeger mech. It's quite a nice payday. I think they offered as high as 900,000 for the cash reward. This is far and away better, walking away with those mechs. So let's take this locust off the board, and we'll be right back here with the mission reward screen. Alright, so Shadowhawk, Thunderbolt, Trebuchet, Victor, only 2 parts. So it does look like they changed it maybe. Wait, where's the Jaeger mech? Only 1. Well, I'm a little surprised by that, but I guess we'll have to deal with it. So we'll take the 2 Victor parts. They're valuable. If nothing else, we can sell them. And I don't really see... Okay, so that's a good medium laser. That's, well, yeah, it's +3 accuracy is pretty good. We might end up taking those unique pieces as well, and that is a targeting system. +1 accuracy for ballistic. That would be very nice to have on that Annihilator, taking the AC-10 accuracy especially up a bit of a notch. And I think we will take... let's take the Thunderbolt part. Well, we may as well take the 2 Shadowhawk parts as well, again for the money if nothing else. And that'll probably be it for today's episode, so thank you all for sticking around, and if you like this content, please don't hesitate to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll be back with another episode here real soon.